Okay, hello and welcome everyone to the webinar called How to Boost Your Freelance Writing Income with Case Studies. My name is Christophe Madeleine of Madeleine Marketing, and I hope that you are all settled in and comfortable and ready for a few valuable tips and tricks on this thing called case study writing. Now, before we go on, I would like to make sure that everybody can hear or see me. So I hope everything is okay technically. If you can hear me, if you can see everything on the screen, you should see an opening slide now saying free webinar, how to boost your freelance income with case studies. If you can see that, please use the chat box and write a yes in the chat box if you will, and let me know if everything is okay. Okay, so if you can do that now. And so I hope you're ready to focus a little bit on this webinar, and if you are, it would be great if you could just close the many tabs in your web browser, Facebook, Instagram, the sports websites. Put your phone away, put the kids in front of the TV. That's okay, you have my permission. So, okay, I see that Vele says everything is good here. All right, so I will assume that everything is fine technically. Okay, good. If it's not, give me a shout. All right, good. So here we are. Well, if you have joined this webinar, I am guessing that you are either a freelance writer or you are an aspiring freelance writer. So maybe you're interested in becoming a freelance content writer or copywriter. Well, then you're in the right place. And if you are a freelance writer already, then I'm sure you'll agree with me that today is um, a great time to be a copywriter. At least that's how I think about it, and I think I'm not alone in this. When I look around and when I'm checking on my LinkedIn and when I see my former colleagues, for example, I've noticed that more and more people are deciding to go freelance these days. And well, the reasons are pretty straightforward. A lot of people want to become a freelancer because it gives them more freedom to choose their own projects. It gives them more flexibility to work their own hours. Maybe you work a little less. Although I have to admit that since I'm freelancing, I've been working harder than ever. But okay, another reason might be that as a freelancer, you can choose the right opportunities to grow your income. You don't have to wait around begging your boss to give you a raise, for example. So as a freelancer, you can decide to earn more either by working harder or, but even more so, I would think, by choosing the right opportunities. Um, so the right freelance projects, I'm sorry. Now I'm speaking for myself. I can imagine that there are other reasons for going freelance, but I hope you can at least recognize at least some of those reasons. So um, I also think it's a good time for storytellers. As a freelance writer, there are many paths that you can follow. I'm thinking SEO, conversion copywriting, and then storytelling is just another possible and valid path. But why? Well, companies need content all the time. Businesses want to have their stories told all the time. And yeah, for us freelance writers, that's very good news. Now, I know that the word storytelling is used way too much these days. Even a picture on Instagram is a story nowadays. But okay, here storytelling is the appropriate term, I think. A lot of companies, B2B and B2C, are willing to pay good money to people like us who can articulate stories well, who can capture and communicate the impact of products and services on an audience. Okay, so but of course, I know that freelance life is not always that rosy. I've listed a few of the biggest worries and fears here of freelance writers on this slide, and I wonder if you can relate. So, first of all, if you exchange your fixed paycheck for a freelance income, I think you're going to have to learn to live with the instability of your earnings. So, achieving a stable income is not always that easy. Secondly, finding clients. You are responsible for your own acquisition. Those writing jobs are not just going to come flying into your inbox. Customer acquisition is something that you will have to put work in, and hopefully after a while you'll be able to weed out the bad clients and replace them with higher paying clients. But again, that's something that you need to work on. So working with clients requires also a certain degree of confidence. You will get paid because you are an expert, but sometimes you don't feel like one. What if I'm not able to do it? What if they don't like my work? Those are some of the typical questions we struggle with as a freelancer. So then how about case studies? Back to the topic of this webinar. Well, are case studies an answer to the problems and fears discussed in the previous slide? Well, they definitely can be, to a large degree. And in the sense that case studies are a great project for freelance business writers. And here are a few reasons. Well, first of all, they're high in demand. I think a lot of businesses want to have their stories told. Second, case study projects pay relatively well, and they offer repeatable work. With case studies, the strength is in the numbers, and businesses usually don't want just one case study, but they want multiple ones. If you have never written case studies, don't worry, they are easy to learn, easy to write, and if you ask me, they're also fun to do. So for a clear understanding, this is what I mean with case studies. We are talking about stories about how a customer overcame a problem using a certain company's products or services. So there's also something like academic case studies, but okay, this is not the focus of this webinar. But if you're thinking, okay, yeah, of course, I know what case studies are. Here's what we are going to talk about today. We're going to look at the reasons why companies, especially B2B companies, want case studies so bad. Then I'll show you my process for completing a case study from A to Z without stressing out too much. And finally, I'll talk about 5 things that you need to start making money with case studies within weeks. Okay, so you're definitely in the right place with this webinar if you are an aspiring or starting copywriter and you're looking for a steady stream of income. If you're an established copywriter looking to diversify your services with a lucrative niche, I think you're in the right place too. If you are a copywriter looking to get better at storytelling, well, welcome. And maybe you're a journalist who wants to break into the copywriting market. Maybe you think, okay, journalism isn't for me after all, and I would like to switch to copywriting. Well, welcome. So, my promise for this webinar will be I'll try to make this as valuable and practical as possible for you. I want you to know that this is all stuff that I have applied before. So I'm assuring you that it works. And timing wise, just to let you know that this webinar will take about 50 minutes of your time, but I definitely think so that it's worth the investment. And if you stick around until the end of this presentation, I'll share a link to my free bonus, which is a 39-point checklist for creating case studies that convert. Okay, so without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, so a few weeks ago, somebody on Twitter linked this article, and the article had the headline, HBO's next big idea, recommendations from actual humans. So this is an article about HBO, a new service that is actually called recommended by humans. And this is what the article says. Are you tired of Netflix's algorithm telling you what to watch? Does the streaming service think you enjoy Black Mirror and Friends reruns a lot more than you actually do? HBO hears you and it has a solution. Recommendations from actual people. So what is this? Recommended by humans is a tool that does not rely on algorithms or on your viewing history, but it says it scans Twitter and it compiles interviews with real people to find out which HBO shows are popular. And these recommendations are collected on a site that you can see here. And people can scan through it and pick what they want to watch. So I'm not sure whether this is a joke from HBO, whether it's poking fun at the algorithms of Netflix, but and maybe it's also just a marketing tactic to attract people. But what I do think is that it shows that testimonials from real people are important. How other people think about a product, that is definitely very important. So when HBO announced this service, there was a press release going out, and it said that the best recommendations come from real people. Now, okay, I'm not sure whether a handful of tweets are really going to compete against algorithms of Netflix, but at least I think HBO recognizes that recommendations from real people are really valuable. So what does this have to do with case studies? Well, very simple. Case studies use the same mechanism, the same psychological trigger to make people want to buy. And you could call that mechanism word of mouth. People buy stuff because other people have bought it too, and they talked about it. So, and companies who use case studies in their marketing realize that this mechanism is very powerful. It's about letting other people tell you how great you are. And it's a mechanism that is as old as mankind, I think. We want stuff, we want to buy things because other people buy them too. And anyone who has ever witnessed a Tupperware party will perfectly know what I'm talking about, okay? So you might be wondering, who is this guy? Why is he so crazy about case studies? Well, I've been a copywriter and content specialist for 15 years, more or less, both in-house and freelance. And I've written maybe, yeah, no, I'm sure, hundreds of case studies and for a wide range of customers, some of which you can see here. And I absolutely love case study writing. It has always been part of the menu for me. I've always worked for B2B companies that sell technology products and services. And that is also one of the typical environments where case studies are used, which we will see later in this presentation. So now let's dive into the first topic of this webinar a bit deeper. So why do customers want case studies so bad? And why is this such a lucrative thing to do as a freelance writer? Okay, I'm going to illustrate this with a personal story. So in 2011, I started working for a company called Trafficon. Maybe you know it. It's a Belgian company specialized in traffic video cameras for incident detection. And so this market was highly technical with different competitors who were all more or less offering the same technology. And so back then I was a marketing communications manager for that company, and I tried to figure out how we could stand out and compete against these, against all our toughest competitors. Although our technology was pretty good, it was going to be very difficult to cut through the noise just by promoting our features and benefits. And then one day, an opportunity came up to do a case study with one of our customers who had to use our technology. And I interviewed the customer, talked about their challenges, how our company came in with a product, and then we talked about the results and the number of incidents we managed to avoid with this technology. And we put it up on our website, and yeah, very soon we started to see that this document was a success. So it became the most downloaded document on our website, was continuously printed and used at events to give out prospects. It was repurposed for all important industry magazines. We used it in sales presentations, we used it in sales offers, and well, this was all from one story, just from writing one story. So okay, I thought writing a case study, that is time well spent, actually. And so, but you know how it is with technology companies. After a while, we started getting noticed by larger corporations and as an interesting investment, and we got acquired. So I moved towards a more content marketing role in that company. So FLIR Systems is a company that is selling thermal imaging camera. And if you don't know what thermal imaging is, maybe you know the Predator movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger and with the colorful red, green, and blue imagery. Well, that in fact is a thermal camera. So these cameras are used exactly for the same purpose as with Trafficon, the previous company, but also for a wider range of applications. And also here, FLIR is a company that already used case studies very extensively in their marketing. Why? And yeah, because we were talking also about complex technology. A thermal camera is basically a thing that uses a specific part of the wavelength spectrum, which you cannot see. It's thermal imaging, thermal energy. But the thing is that with thermal imaging, there's quite a technical concept. It's difficult to explain. And also the technology features of those products were difficult to grasp. We were talking about infrared resolution, field of view, detector type, spectral range, very complex stuff. So we were thinking, how are we going to connect with buyers? With specifications? Yeah, okay, maybe, but with case studies? Definitely. So in the years after the acquisition, I started to write case studies, lots of them. And so for all different markets and customers, and some of which you can see here, those are mostly uh, two-page documents about how FLIR managed to solve a problem to a particular customer. And I had a lot of fun with doing that. So I saw a few parts of the world, I visited a few places that you would normally not go as a regular visitor. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But then fast forward to 2017, I decided to leave the corporate world and go freelance. So I wanted to become a freelance copywriter. And so my reasons for going freelance, I guess, well, the same reasons as many other freelancers. I was tired of working at a landscape office. I wanted to be my own boss, schedule my own time, do the projects I love. And it was also, yeah, the thrill of something new. Okay. When I started out as a freelance copywriter, I quickly realized that it's better to have a niche, so or maybe multiple specialties. Yeah? So I think if you specialize in something, you can attract higher paid customers. So I asked myself, what should I specialize in? I wanted to do something I would enjoy, and that was always my first criterion. If you pick a niche, try something that you love, of course, but it needs to be profitable as well. Otherwise, it's a hobby. So it needs to bring in money. And third thing is you need to be knowledgeable about it. So you need to know a thing or two about the thing that you do, but should also be easy to learn. And this was something that I found in case studies. They had always been part of my menu, so I chose to dig a little deeper into that subject and position myself as a case study expert. And for me, it ticks all the boxes that when you define good freelance business. I think they are fun to write, they pay well, they are in demand, and they offer repeatable business. So most customers don't stop with one case study; they need multiple ones. And okay, they are relatively easy to write. So for freelance writers, I think especially when you're in B2B, case studies are definitely an opportunity. And now let me explain a little why companies want writers like me to do that kind of work. If you're in B2B and you're looking at sales, then you need to know that B2B sales cycles can be very long. In the past, when I was working for Trafficon and FLIR Systems, for example, those sales cycles literally took years. And for salespeople, that's often a long and discouraging and intensive process of continuous customer education, pitching, convincing. So yeah, rather intensive. Now, can content help to shorten these B2B cycles? I'd say absolutely. So during the sales process, sales guys and girls need educational marketing tools to help explain the problem that the customer is facing and the solution they are offering. So they need tools to show them that their company can be trusted. Customers need to be convinced that the product can work for them. And case studies can do all that. So that's why sometimes I call case studies the secret weapon of B2B sales professionals. And there are a few good reasons why this is true. So first of all, case studies provide credibility. They make a company more credible. Case studies talk about real customers in a realistic setting. So this is the type of marketing that offers much more credibility than a product brochure or a sales page, for instance. Compare it to buying a piece of electronics in your local store. First thing you will do probably is check the online reviews first, and it will give you social proof. Well, actually, this credibility, this social proof is very important. Case studies also educate. When you need to explain something different, something complex, when you need to sell something complex, um, and show how a product actually works. Well, judging from a brochure, that is often very difficult, but case studies show how their complex product or solution can work in a realistic setting, which makes it more understandable. And finally, case studies demonstrate results. So they show that a product, a solution, or a technology actually works and can generate results. Now, all the marketing research, if you look at marketing research, it will confirm that case studies work like crazy in B2B, especially in B2B. So customers love to read them. And this is a graph from IEE Global Spec, which is an online publication for engineers and technical professionals. And it shows that technical audience love case studies. In a survey from 2017, 46 of the respondents found them very valuable. 49% found them somewhat valuable. So, okay, you see the value here of case studies. Another cool statistic is this time from DocSend, a content management software company. And apparently this company is able to measure how people consume content, so how they read. And in the statistic, they say, okay, case studies have an 83% completion rate. So they actually get read by people. So don't believe that nobody reads anymore, because this is the proof that actually people do read it. Okay, so if case studies are so useful and so high in demand, then why are not all B2B copywriters offering case studies already? Okay, so I've been asking myself that question many times, and I think I can think of a number of reasons why that is, but I think the reason that stands out for me is, okay, you think case studies are easy until you do it yourself. So writing case studies may not be that simple after all. You might think that, okay, we're talking about a challenge, a solution, and a result, and okay, we're done. But usually it's not that simple. Case studies can be hard to write and to manage. So I've done a bit of research for this presentation, and I've talked to marketing managers, talked to freelance writers, and this is what I heard are the top 4 frustrations of marketers that want to use case studies. Now, first of all, it can be very hard or very difficult to get buy-in from customers. Why is it so hard to ask a customer to cooperate in a case study? Second thing, what if a customer doesn't approve the story and all the time and energy spent on writing is wasted? Customer interviews, why are they so awkward? And why can I get the information I want from an interview? How do you write a story that attracts buyers and makes them take action? So yes, there are a lot of things that can go wrong and that people are afraid of in case study writing. And quite often, when you're working on a case study project, a lot of the time you won't actually be writing. You will be dealing with a lot of the other stuff. So there's a lot of odds and ends in a case study project, and that's why when I am doing this type of project, I try not to follow my instincts too much. So instead, I try to follow a fixed method. And okay, this gives me a bit of direction, make sure that I can finish the job much faster without running into surprises. So when a client asks me to tackle a new case study project, I know exactly what to do because I use my process. So yes, you need one. You need a process. And this is what I would like to talk about in the next few minutes. A simple fixed process to guide you through a case study project from A to Z without stressing out. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of water. Alrighty. So the process that works for me is what I call the BRICS framework. It consists of the following steps. So you have a briefing, research, interview, creation, and sign off. I know it's a simple model, but looking at the case study writing process like this helps me to schedule my time, allows me to make it clear to my client, okay, where am I in the process? So it's simple, but it works. And let's have a deeper look into that framework. Okay, so first thing of the framework, the B of bricks is when you receive a case study assignment from your customer, you usually have a lot of information that you will need to process. And sometimes your client will give you a briefing document to start with, but that is not always the case. So the first thing you want to do is to get all the story basics before actually going into the interview. And these are some of the basics. So first of all, you need to ask yourself, okay, why do we want this story in the first place? Okay, so what is the product, the solution, the capability that we want to highlight? What company is the case study talking about? What is the product and services that has been sold? And who can we contact for an interview for more information? Of course, you will, by default, a case study you think means that you will need to interview someone at the client side. But before you do that, you need to ask yourself, okay, does the interviewee, the person that we are going to interview, does he know anything about the project? Will I get the information I need from that person? Second question, is the interviewee authorized to talk on behalf of the company? This is very important. You don't want to end up with a case study that cannot be approved by your end customer because the interviewee was not allowed to speak publicly in the company's name. Okay. So another tip that I would like to give here is get your information from someone who is as close to the end customer as possible. So it might well be as a freelance writer that you're getting your writing assignment from a marketing manager or a PR person, but you will probably get more valuable input from someone who has actually sold the project. And so in most cases, you will need to talk to a sales guy or an account manager, or if you want valuable up-to-date information, you need to go to sales or account management. Okay, that is the B of the BRICS acronym. And now we're at the R, research. You received your first briefing. Now it's time to see if there are any missing pieces. So I would say research the hell out of your case study. Make sure you know who the company is, who you will be interviewing, what role your interviewee has in the organization, what products or services that organization has bought from your client, etc. You don't need to overdo it. You don't need to know everything in advance. Otherwise, why would you need an interview anyway? But at least you should have an idea of what it is about. So don't come across, you don't want to come across awkward or ignorant. So you really need to know what you're talking about and to make a good impression during that interview. So, and this is also the time when you need to build a solid interview questionnaire. And so you need to make sure that all your questions cover what you need to know. Okay, so you need to have a before, during, after. Before being, what was the situation before the end customer bought a solution? During means what made the customer decide to buy the solution? And after, what were the incredible results that the customer achieved with this solution? Okay, so research the hell out of your case study. Next is the interview. And probably this is, I know a lot of writers who feel that this is the most stressful part of the job. And especially in the beginning of my copywriting career, I found interviews quite stressful. So you need to be, the challenge here is to be sure that you can pull all of the information out of your customer. And so a lot of things can go wrong during a customer interview. Sometimes you have the feeling that you're not prepared well enough. Other times your questions will just, okay, confuse your interviewee. So a good interview can definitely make or break your case study. Now, what helps for me is that not to look at it as an interview, but as a conversation. You're not really doing a journalistic interview. You don't want to uncover nasty truths. You don't need a provocative quote or anything. Um, the goal of your case study interview here is to make your buyer and seller look good. However, there are, of course, journalistic techniques that you can use to have a good interview. And well, here are a few tips for making a good interview, okay, for doing a good interview. First of all, using your questionnaire, use it, but be prepared to deviate from it when you see an opportunity. You should be prepared, definitely, but some of your questions will appear to be redundant, irrelevant, or repetitive, so it's better to drop them. On the other hand, if your customer reveals something new that you didn't cover in your questionnaire, you should definitely go after it too. Second is ask open-ended questions. What, how, why questions will result in more information than yes and no questions. Think of, okay, were you satisfied with the solution? Yes or no, of course. Or the other question, tell me, how did you feel about choosing this solution? I think the second question will deliver a lot more valuable input. Sometimes you will need to press for answers, especially when you need to hear about measurable results. You might need to press a little, but it's not the Spanish Inquisition. You don't need to overdo it. But yes, interviewing requires some persistence. A final tip is shut up. So dropping a little silence can be a very awkward thing to do, but it's a great way to get your interviewee to speak. So research has shown that by shutting up, you can prolong the answer by 25 to 65%. So it's definitely worth a try. Okay, next is a creation part, the C in the BRICS acronym. So this is where you write and create your story. Now, what you see here on this slide is the room of my 13-year-old daughter. And she's absolutely crazy about Friends, so the 90s TV show. And you know, when I say crazy, I mean that she has probably binge watched the full 10 seasons 3 times. But yeah, I think it's funny how a TV show I enjoyed in my 20s still resonates with someone who is 30 years younger. And Friends episodes are just small stories. And the thing with stories is that no matter how many times you hear them, you can always enjoy them again. And this is exactly the power of case studies. They are stories too. They are much more effective than dry facts stating the features and benefits if you want to convey a message. Now, just like any story, TV show or movie, a case study will have a typical story structure. So your case study will talk about how the customer experiences a serious problem, tries to find a suitable solution but fails, starts looking for a new approach, implements a new solution, and then solves the problem and achieves great results. Okay. So now translate that story structure into the typical building blocks of a case study, and this is what you'll get. You'll have a headline, a section that talks about the customer, a challenge, the journey, the discovery, the solution and implementation, and results. Now, I want to go quickly over the different building blocks without going too much into detail, but here's a short overview. So first of all, you have the headline, of course, and this is super important because this is the element that you need to pull your reader into the story. And in fact, it's the most important job of the headline is to make your reader read on. On the other hand, a headline should also more or less sum up what your story is about. A few things that you can say in your headline are definitely the company's name to grab attention, a pain that the reader can relate to, a challenge that was solved. I would say throw in a few metrics as well, real results that were achieved. For example, you have increased sales with X%, you have increased productivity with X units, etc., etc. You get the picture, right? So also something unexpected, something almost unbelievable that you find in the story can be worthwhile putting in your headline. The challenge. So we're going to skip the customer part for now and directly move to the challenge part. So remember, you're telling a story, and every story has a critical moment where the tension rises, where something bad happens. And this is the challenge part in your case study. It's here that you need to talk about the customer problem. And it should be something that the reader cares about. This is also where your storytelling skills can come into play. So maybe you're writing about an end customer who is trying to solve a problem of an inefficient workflow. Maybe that customer was working late nights, having a lot of nasty IT problems. So try to look into the problem real close and investigate how that makes the end customer feel. So next is the journey. This is the part of the case study that is often forgotten, but it's also a building block that makes your case study so much more credible. And usually when a company buys a solution, the installation does not go very smoothly, or maybe updates are needed, or problems arise during the setup. So describing the failed attempts, the difficult journey, also from the side of the seller, is a form of honesty that can be charming and that makes a story more likable and credible. Then we talk about the solution and the implementation. This is where you talk about features and benefits, but go easy on this because you're not writing a product brochure, you're writing a story. And very often, when a lot of people are involved and need to authorize the story, they will ask you to add more information on features and benefits. And this is not always a good idea because you want to avoid that a case study sounds too overtly promotional. Okay. So finally, the results. This is where you can talk about the numbers. What is the ROI? What are the results that have made a difference for the customer? Numbers are always convincing. So if possible, try to talk about measurable results. For example, um, we increased newsletter signups with 50% in the last 2 weeks. Okay. The trouble is you will not always be able to get measurable results. And if that is the case, try to talk about the pain that was solved by using a solution. For example, customer has bought new software, the workflow was easier for everyone and resulted in a lot and less work stress, for example. So, okay, does this benefit? Those are results, not really measurable results, but then again, they are results. Okay, so let's recap. We had the BRICS acronym, we had the briefing, research, interview, creation. When you have created it, you will need to have it signed off by your customer. And that is the final letter of the acronym. So if the case study is going to be published and promoted, and I cannot think of a reason why it shouldn't be promoted, you will need the customer's consent. So publishing without customer approval is always a very bad idea. You will undermine the good relationship with your customer. You will risk that the content has to be removed from the website. So yeah, very bad idea. When you ask for a sign-off with the end customer, the customer should at least feel comfortable with the content you have created. Okay, so the content needs to be accurate, truthful, needs to be according to the brand guidelines, and it should be apparent from the entire story that the customer is the real hero of the story. Now, most of the times, the approval process will result in a published story with both the seller and the buyer living happily together ever after. But there are occasions when approval just doesn't happen, even after numerous emails, calls, voice messages. And so here are a few tips that can help you to increase your chances of receiving a story sign-off with your customer. So go for internal review first and then send it to the customer. With internal review, I mean on the seller side. So don't make the internal approval committee too big, but first have it signed off internally. However, you should at least ask your sales contact, the guy who has sold the project, you should ask him or her for a review. Ideally, you should only send your case study to the end customer once. Now, to avoid endless revision rounds, make sure your case study is as close as final to possible. And this means that the basics should be there. No grammar or spelling errors, all quotes attributed to the appropriate people, the correct job titles, etc. Another thing is ask approval as quickly as possible after the interview. If you treat the case study as urgent, then the end customer will do it as well. And if you feel that the approval process is dragging on, then you need to ask the sales or account manager who has actually sold the project. You have to ask him or her to jump in and contact the end client. Then usually they know the customer very well and they can speed up the process. Okay. So this is the simple bricks model in all its glory. I say simple, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is easy. But I think if you manage this process well, it will make you a more efficient and more productive case study writer. So as a freelance case study writer, you will definitely need some writing skills. You don't need to be Shakespeare, but it helps if you know how to write a convincing story. You will also need the skills to manage the whole process. And that is, of course, the bricks method that we just have outlined. But more importantly, if you are a freelance writer, a successful case study writer for me also means that you're going to make good money of your skill. Okay, so, and this is where our Leonardo guy comes in, right? So when you consider the commercial side of things, you might ask yourself, how can I turn case study writing into an actual business? And in my research with freelance writers, I discovered a few of the most pressing issues about case study writing. And first thing is, okay, where do I find customers? Where do I find companies who are in need of case studies anyway? If I find them, what should I quote for a case study? And how can I make sure those companies pick me? How can I position myself as an expert? I will dig a little deeper into those questions now. And I would like to focus on 5 things that you need to start making money as a freelance case study writer right now. So what does it mean? Of course, you know how to tell a story, right? You know how to run an interview. This is actually what we discussed with the bricks method. But there are also additional requirements. And the first requirement that I would like to talk about is you love to work with people. So actually, there's no way around it. When you're doing a case study project, you will need to work with people and collaborate with people. So maybe this is not the most appealing part of the job for a lot of introverted writers, I think. But this is a reality. You cannot complete a case study project without working with people. So what does that mean? You will need to ask a customer to work with you. You will have to do intake calls, meetings, the interview, of course. You will need to press for approval. You will need to manage revisions with clients. You will need to thank the customer afterwards when the project is finalized, etc. So when you think of offering case studies as a freelance writer, it's important to realize that companies do not only pay you to write, but also to work with people. They pay you to take the nasty people work out of their hands. And so in other words, they were not only looking for writers, but they are actually looking for project managers. So, and this requires a number of people skills. So I'm going to go quickly over those. So you will need a little bit of emotional intelligence, which means keeping calm under pressure, avoiding pushing your own frustrations onto others. You will need communication skills. You need to be a little positive during the project. Keep your stress level down. You need to be able to negotiate, reaching an agreement with 2 or more people, especially during the revision cycle. You will need to be open to feedback, suppress your ego a little bit, and focus on what the case study needs. And I think also you need to be an active listener, being open to ideas, clearly understanding all the instructions, etc. Okay, so back to our 5 things. We covered, you need to know how to tell a story, you need to know how to interview, you need to know how to work with people, definitely. And the 4th element, I think, when you want to become a successful case study writer, is your ability to find case study customers. Now, companies that are looking for case studies can mostly be found in industries with complex products, technological products, or products that solve a complex problem. And they are usually doing something innovative. They sell expensive products or services. And I think, okay, the technology industry is typically a sector where you will find companies that are after this type of content. So in order to offer your services, you will need to talk to the right kind of people as well. And this means marketing, PR managers, sometimes even a company owner. And to find all those people, you will need to work, I think, extensively with one of the most important channels for B2B, and that is LinkedIn. You will need to use your profile to get your message across as a case study expert, but also you need to look at job boards, be part of groups, um, and look at the activities of your connections and find that type of customers there. But I think no matter how much we live in an inbound world nowadays, what a lot of focus is on organic search, you will also need to reach out to proactively reach out to companies, for example, by warm emails. And this is a very efficient strategy. So what does that mean, a warm email? It means that you first try to build a connection on social media and then find the right moment to step in with a good email. Okay. And so for the last thing is be your own customer. You are a freelance writer. You are used to writing promotional stuff for your customers. Now it's time to use those skills for your own promotion as well. So use your copy for blogging, email marketing, social media posts, etc. Now the last thing that I would like to discuss is here that you need to get the most value out of your case study project. So what I mean by this is, how can you make sure that you make the most profit out of a case study project? So how can you make sure your customer would pay good money for your skills? And I would say, first of all, act like a pro. Okay, so be a project manager. You can do research, you can do customer interviews, you need to do story sign off, all the while keeping an eye on your deadlines. That is acting like a pro. So customer story writing, case study writing means keeping different plates spinning. And especially when a lot of people are involved at the client side, at the buyer and the seller side, the more you will need to play out your project management skills. Another thing to get more value out of your case study project is to sell additional services. So ask yourself, how much of the entire case study process are you willing to do? Some companies will ask you to stick to the interview and writing. But what if you manage the whole process for them? You can do that. Maybe you can also offer photography and layout. You don't have to be a jack of all trades. If it's not your forte, you can also work with other freelancers to do that. But definitely that can be part of your service. Promotion and PR. A case study needs to be promoted. And this is where copy is needed as well. You can offer that kind of service to your customer. And last but not least, strategy, candidate selection. On rare occasions, and definitely if you have a very good relationship with your customer, there are things that you can do and help them with the strategy, help them with what is a good candidate for a case study. You can help your customer with that. But of course, especially for the strategy part, you will need to have a very good relationship with your customer already. Okay. So there you have it. Those are my 5 elements that you need to be a successful case study writer. And I think there has never been a better time than now to pursue this type of content. And never been a better time than now to be a case study writer. And why do I say this? And this is a bit of a summary of my previous slides. People actually love stories. B2B companies will always need content to shorten that sales cycle. We talked in the beginning of this presentation, we talked about shortening the sales cycle. Well, B2B companies need that. Marketing people are always looking for fresh content, and with case studies, you never run out of fresh content. In fact, as long as a company has satisfied customers, there is fresh content. And especially in B2B, case studies are an ideal content type to talk about complex products in an accessible way. Okay, so you can probably tell that case studies is something that I am very passionate about. And yes, I have written hundreds of case studies over the past 15 years. During that time, I have learned a lot, which isn't to say that everything went very smoothly all the time. During those 15 years, I definitely had my share of missed case study opportunities as a freelance writer. I had my share of awkward interviews, case studies that didn't get approved, revisions that took months, projects where I was paid too little for all the hours that I put in. So yeah, I had my share. So, but if you're thinking, hey, case study writing, that seems like a fun thing to do here. That is a profitable income stream I could add to my portfolio. I would definitely encourage you to do that. And the good news is that you don't actually need 15 years to learn efficient case study writing. You don't need all this time and work to get where I am now. And so what I would like to offer you today is a shortcut. I have put 15 years of my knowledge into a new online program that I would like to talk about today. And that program is called Case Study Writing Expert. And if you give me 5 minutes, I'll tell you exactly what you can find inside this program. So, Case Study Writing Expert is a 7-week online program where I will teach you how to grow your freelance writing business by adding case studies to your portfolio. And more specifically, this program will teach you how to use storytelling techniques to write a good case study, how to do interviews like a professional journalist, how to act like an ambassador for your own client, how to get your story approved much faster, and how you can get paid much faster, how to get more systematic and productive and profitable at case study writing, um, how to wow your customers with stories that go beyond the classic challenge solutions results formula. But also the commercial stuff is in this course. How can you find case study clients much quicker, and how you can get the most money for your effort and upsell to other services. So this is all included in my 7-week online program. And my goal for this program is to help you become a case study writing expert and land great customers, land high paying work, find repeatable business and steady income, and make your customers happy. I'm talking about an online program consisting of 7 online modules that you can follow live and then review at your own pace, anywhere, anytime. So if you allow me, I'm going to quickly go over those 7 modules to show you exactly what you can gain from it. So a first module is about case study writing basics. Here we talk about why companies need case studies anyway. We'll talk about a proven process for writing kick-ass case studies. And I'll show you how to convince your customer to do a case study with you. In a second module, we'll talk more in depth about case study blueprints and some story alternatives, because there's a lot of things you can do with a case study. You don't have to follow the classic formula. I will also discuss a little bit how you can write a credible story that will convince your reader. Module 3 is all about interviewing. How can you prepare for an interview? How can you ask questions like a professional journalist? And what do you need to think about during an interview? 7 essential tasks. Module 4 is working with your client, how to ask an end customer to work with you. We'll talk about 3 reasons why your customers don't approve stories. And I'll give you more explanation on how to guarantee your case study gets signed off. Then we come to the commercial part of this online course, and that is about how to land customer story writing jobs, case study writing jobs. We'll look at the industries that need case studies. We'll look at proven strategies to find case study clients, and we'll look at how you can position yourself as a case study expert. Module 6 is how to make the most out of your case study project. We'll look at 5 things you need to be a successful case study writer. We will look at why companies will pick you as a case study writer, and we'll look at the additional services that you can sell for your case study project. And then module 7 is a bit of a walkthrough and a troubleshooting module. We're going to go through a few case study examples in much detail. We'll talk about case study best practices, and we'll talk about all the proven solutions to the most common problems. So, okay, these are the 7 modules that are included in this course. So you're probably asking, okay, what does that cost me? Well, less than the price of a single case study. And in this version of the course, which I will call the basic option, I'm offering you 7 online modules with 1 hour of valuable content each. You'll get the slides of the course, you'll get the recordings of the live session, and you'll have an additional Q&A at the end of every live session. And this is for 697 euros, excluding VAT. So if you are interested in following this course, then you can sign up starting today at madeleine.com/case. And there you will find an overview again of the online modules once more, and a way to register for this course. So that's madeleine.com/case. If you choose for the basic option of this course, and I can assure you that you have all the up-to-date knowledge that you need to get started with case studies and to find customers for this type of work within weeks. Now, everything you need to make case study writing a success, in fact. But I know that some people like to be guided in the process a bit more. Okay, so because some people say, okay, when I'm following this on my own, without a bit of accountability built in, without someone looking over my shoulder, it will be hard for me to stay motivated for the entire course. And that is why I also offer a second option, a VIP option. So what does this include? This will be an option where you and I will be working closely together to make case study writing a success. So what does it include? Everything of the basic option, being the 7 modules, the slides, the recordings, the Q&A, plus a few extras, being a few one-on-one coaching calls, my review and feedback, and checklists and templates. So we'll have 2 Zoom calls of 1 hour each, guiding you through every step of the case study writing process, and we will be discussing every possible issue that you might have along the way. I'll also give you my review and feedback on your own work, up to 3 case studies. We'll go over story structure, style, and a few tricks to make your story more appealing. You'll also have a number of checklists and templates that you can use in your case study writing work. So you will have a questionnaire that you can use for very smooth interviews. You will have a case study request email template to increase the chances of getting a customer to work with you. You will have a case study consent form to get initial approval from the customer. You will have a case study approval form that will result in 90% guaranteed sign-off with the customer. We'll look at a warm sales pitch email that you can use to connect with your prospects. You will have an offer template for selling case study projects, and practically any other checklists or template that can help you in the process and that we agree upon to create during our live coaching sessions. So we're going to have 2 live coaching sessions. If there is anything that you struggle with and where a template or a checklist can help, I will give you that template. Okay. That is that. So to be honest, I would love to work with you personally. I would love you to choose the VIP option in your course, but I think you will get more value out of a course like this. By working together closely, I can guide you towards guaranteed results. But okay, there are only 24 hours in a day. So here's what I want to do. My VIP option will be offered at 1,297 euros, excluding VAT. But if you are very fast and you are registering this option before Monday, October 21st, I will offer you this option with a 300 euro discount. So you'll be able to get this VIP option at 997 euros. But again, this discount is only valid until Monday. So this is for the people who can decide fast. Okay. So once more, which is which? You'll have the basic option. You will have all the knowledge that you need to make a case study writing a success, and you will certainly have a guideline that you can go back to if you need. When you have the VIP option, we'll work together closely to make case study writing a guaranteed success. And I'll guide you through the massive amount of information of this course. We'll look at your personal case study work, how to find clients, how to position yourself as an expert. And you will get, of course, the checklists and tools to develop your own stories, to conduct interviews, to obtain customer approval, and much more. So here you have the two options again. If you are interested in any of the two, you can sign up from today onwards at madeleine.com/case. And again, if you decide fast, I would suggest you might as well grab that discount before Monday, because that's 300 euros of the original price. So either 697 for the basic option or 997 for the VIP option. And so head over to madeleine.com/case if you want to register starting from today. But okay, just maybe case study writing is, for a moment, let's look at the reason why you wouldn't choose any of the two options, right? So maybe case study writing is not your thing. Maybe you're not interested in writing stories for a living, writing for B2B customers and customers that pay well up to 2,000 euro for a 2-page case study. Okay, maybe that is not your thing. Maybe you say, okay, I love case study writing, but I want to figure it all out myself. And you might think that it's actually something you like to do, making money telling stories, but you want to learn this by yourself. Now, this can definitely work, but you might want to prepare yourself for putting in a lot of hours learning by doing, making mistakes along the way, making your customers unhappy maybe, and waiting a long time until your efforts actually pay off, okay? So what I am offering you today is a shortcut to case study writing success. And when you choose any of the two flavors of case study writing expert, you can learn in 7 weeks what I have learned in 15 years, find customers faster, deliver better work for your customers within weeks, find repeat business with clients that value the work of a professional case study writer. And yes, I will admit that this is an investment. Sure it is. But I think this is what it takes to become a better freelancer, a better writer. When you become a better freelancer, that means investing in yourself. And also, I know, if you know me a little, then you know that I'm not a big fan of a lot of self improvement programs that are on the internet nowadays. But this course is just the practical stuff. Yeah? I'm also convinced that this will pay for itself after selling and writing one case study. So, but of course, the idea is to not stop after one case study, of course, and we are going to for bigger success than that. So this is the end of my rant. But I'm not going to leave you before asking you once more to head over to madeleine.com/case, sign up for the basic or VIP option. I'll promise that you won't regret it. Okay, so and now I'm going to do what I have promised at the beginning of this webinar, if you still remember, and that is showing you the secret link to my free bonus. And that is a 39-point checklist for creating case studies that convert. I think it's a good idea to maybe just take a screenshot of this slide. You can download the PDF of this bonus at this link. It's a bit.ly link. It's a bit difficult, but yeah, just take a screenshot of the slides, otherwise note it down. And okay, so this leaves me to thank you all very much for attending this webinar. We have come to the end of this webinar, and I hope that you were able to get something out of it. I'll leave you once again with the URL for the course registration page right here. That's madeleine.com/case. And now I'm totally ready for your questions if you have any. So let me know if you have any questions about case study writing. Drop your comment in the chat box. Just ask your question in the chat box if you have any. Okay, I don't see any questions. No, no questions. Do you always take the interviews on site for cases? Anya asks me. No, I do not. No. Obviously, that's a very good question, Anya. Obviously, going on site is always the best option. However, you're a freelance writer, and as a freelance writer, you must be you must know that the time is money, and going on site takes a lot of time. And so with nowadays Skype options and a lot of the other stuff, Zoom, appear.in, you have a lot of options to do case study interviews online. Or if that is not an option, you can also do it by phone. But I would agree, if the freelance customer says, okay, it's okay to go on site, then I would definitely say that that is the best option. But you have to know that, okay, this takes time. This will take money for your end customer, so you have to factor that in as well. Okay, does that answer your question, Anya? Great presentation. Okay, well, thank you, Anya. Okay, I also see Eddie. Eddie doesn't have any questions. Well, I think we're done here for today. If there are any other questions, just go to my website, madeleine.com, send me an email. And if you have any questions about this course or about case study writing, I'm very willing to answer that right away. So thank you very much, everyone, for following this webinar. Have great fun freelancing, and talk to you later. Bye-bye.